Hey guys, welcome back to Envision Prototypes. If you're new to our channel, I'm Nick, and this, if you don't recognize it, is the 1974 Charger that we just had media blasted, epoxy primered it, and mounting it for the final time on the Infiniti G35 all-wheel drive chassis. If you're just tuning in, it looks pretty sweet. But if you recall from the previous episode, like people that have been following along, this car really looked bad. I have to admit it, it was rough. We had it all media blasted, cleaned up, epoxy primer the inside, outside, we took the chassis, epoxy primered everything there. And now, like I mentioned, we are installing the two pieces together for the final time. What you saw me working on here were the rockers. Now before I get into all the details and start bending things up, let's go around the car, show you what we're going to be doing with these rockers and how we're going to be doing it, because that's essentially the backbone of the car, to mount the two pieces together. Without the rockers, no matter what you do anywhere else, fill in those quarters, build new fenders, it's not going to matter because, well, they're not attached. So armed with my duckbill pliers, which are over here, and a strip of sheet metal, I went through, we'll open this door in a second. It's a little bit sketchy right now because, like I mentioned, there's nothing supported. I went through and bent up a profile of the new rocker. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's hold it up here. You see that? Zoom in on the camera a little bit, talking to my imaginary assistant. So we're going to have the door sill, the outside rocker, and then a flange down here that attaches to the pinpoint. Now, to figure out how to do that, it was a little bit complicated. I'm going to do a little bit of talking before we get into building, because for the people that aren't experts in the art of fabrication, like a lot of you guys out there are, this kind of gives you a little background information, how we're going from nothing to a set of rockers. So initially I was fooling around with these templates. I was playing with different shapes, and you can see this one here, that's just excess material. I wanted to see what would look good on this car. Like, I did a sketch. We wanted the new rockers to look like they were factory made, part of the car, not something that we stuck on to make work. So I ended up running with this profile, but initially I had something like this to do something like a ground effects kit. Just ignore this part down here. The pinch weld is there. So I basically had it where it actually swooped out and widened the bottom of the car. And if we mock this up down here, just under the door, and have that additional swoop outward to kind of give it a ground effects look, it looked a bit gaudy. It was like we're trying too hard. So we're going to scrap this and go with this new profile that we bent up. And as you can see, we are transitioning from the pinch weld on the Infiniti outward to pick up the Infiniti, or the Charger's pinch weld, because the car is a little bit wider than the G35. We've got the door sill, we've got the step for the seal, we've got the outward projection to pick up the door bottom there. And then from that point on, it'll swoop down underneath and pick up the pinch weld on the Infiniti's rockers. These are the structural members that we are not disturbing, and we need to tie into them. They're really strong. We'll bend up a pair of 18 gauge rockers that'll also help tie the body in to the Infiniti's rockers. Now, before I could get into actual rocker fabrication, I needed these doors on the car. No matter how flimsy things are at the moment, I needed to have these doors bolted to the hinges and gapped here at the back so that we're working with the correct spacing all around. If you weld the A pillar and B pillar in the wrong location, your doors are never going to work. So we've got the front on a little block here, the little spacer block tacked in place. The bottom is just resting where it is. I've indicated where the rocker is going to end. And back here I've got a clamp holding the width of the quarter panel. And the gap is pretty darn good. At the top here, we're about a 1/4 inch. It's about a 1/4 here with about a 5/16 or just under 5/16 in the center of the door. The door does have to come in, but given that we don't have anything really holding this shell together at the moment, it's really tough to get things aligned. And I've done both sides. So let's get this door open. I got the latch installed as well so that everything is pinned. I don't want to start welding it because you're going to see that we're going to need to swing this door open to work on the rockers. And I don't want to take the door on and off, or off and on, because it is on right now, so that we can actually get the door closed when the rocker's in place without messing anything up. There we go. See that sag? Boom. We just dropped about 3/4 of an inch. There's no structure yet. Don't worry. So let's swing this door open. The hinges are talking. And let's get you guys inside. So here is that rocker profile I bent up. I'm short 1 inch, but that's just the way it worked out. That 1 inch has to bend over the top and down inside, so we weld it on the inside. As you can see, we are resting with the door jamb on the Infinity's rocker, so we have to slide the new one up underneath. At the front there, we have to restructure that, or rebuild the jamb because it rotted away. And well, here's the rocker. It's going to sit just like that, roll around, and I can bend it just right with my thumb. It's going to attach to that pinch weld up underneath there, right there. So you get the idea. I initially mentioned I had this one, and it kind of sat like that, and this concavity running front to back, I think it would look really weird. We don't want too much height on the rocker. Like I mentioned, it's a taller rocker, so we need to kind of hide that, and we're going to hide that with a curve. I've gone ahead and laid it out on some 18 gauge, indicated all the bends. The circles are going to be bent from this side, and all the lines with the center punches are going to be bent on the other side. Now the reason I use get back here. The reason I use a center punch is to transpose this mark onto the other side of the sheet metal without flipping the sheet over until, and there we are. You can see the pot mark right there, the center punch, indicated it with a line, and then I took the dolly and flattened them out so that there's no distortion to the sheet metal. So let's go ahead and bend this up, and then we can fit it after removing some sections. You'll see what I mean when we get there. See, that door's, everything's been set up. Let's go to the other side. I'll show you the gaps on that door. This door, we're going to leave it because I don't want to keep opening and closing things. Like when you open and close, those hinges need to be gone over. You see the flex in the post? Get a little closer there. It's moving, and we don't want to strain things any more than they need to be. Blasting revealed a bunch of rust in the structural areas, so they have to be fixed up, and we're not leaving anything on screws. Somebody made a comment about that that this is basically a hack job because we're only using screws to hold things in place. Screws are temporary. I should put that on the top of the screen. This side here, again, rocker has been indicated, the length where it's going to drop down from under the door. There was a laser level I had set up here. Yeah, look at that. Pretty lights. So trying to be as accurate as possible. Spacer block, that's temporary. We have to create a web that ties this in with that. And check out this gap. A little bit low. We can work with that. But overall, it's lining up really well. And then we'll rebuild all that. See, again, we have our clamp there. And like we could take this and just nail it right to that. But that's not right. We're gonna have to create additional structural webbing, transitional webbing to go between the Infinity and the Charger. But I need to start at the rockers. All right guys, there's just one more thing I want to say before we get into bending these rockers. I want to thank everybody who's recently subscribed to our channel, who's helped our channel grow by sharing it with your friends, and for all the awesome comments. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate all the support. Let's get bending these rockers. So we're going to start at the middle because we don't want to trap ourselves when we're doing the bend. If you have any doubts, take a strip of metal and do a trial run first. Good. Now this one's not quite 90. Smidgen more. Okay. Okay. Now, that was the bend just above the arc.
Inside one, yeah?
Yeah, that's this one right here. So let's do the arc, or the one that leads up to the arc. So we got to flip it over.
So that's that one, so it's got to be flipped the other way.
Yeah, okay. Now this will be past 90. Gauge, the brake likes to talk a little bit. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So that's going to be the sweeping curve down below. That's the 3/4 inch flange that goes to the rocker. We can do that. Take care of that, okay?
Okay.
Or we can do that after. When we pinch it, we can also do the rocker curvature. Let's do that after. Okay, so now bend this one. Okay, let's go. Not quite 90.
Okay.
I got to go a little bit more on mine. We'll open up yours. Okay. Good. Now we do the circle. Flip it end for end. Okay.
Not quite 90?
Yep. I need to go a little bit more. Okay. We flip it again. And this is the final. We just bent the leg up. I'm missing a flange here, so we're going to be bending this one and this one. And this one's going to be tricky because of this leg.
Yeah.
So let's see how far we can get in.
Okay.
So first bend is that one. Good. Not quite 90. Last bend. Oh,
Did you want to,
let's bend that first. So we can minimize the height of this, because when we do the last bend, this is going to hit that.
so you needed to go a little bit more, eh?
Yeah. So this one can be 90. Come out a little bit.
It jumps, you know, a little bit.
It's a lot easier with two people, one on each side.
There.
If I push this side in, that side comes out. If he wasn't there, then
I think that's it.
you're kind of dancing around.
Okay?
Yep, 90 degrees. Okay.
Okay.
Now this one is not quite 90.
Yeah.
Now this is the tricky part. We don't want to create a crease in the bottom. We don't have the angle iron to extend this bending surface. So if we could very easily create a crease in the top there, messing up our top surface because of the friction here. So we're going to kind of just let that go up like that. That's it.
Okay.
Let's throw a little bit more. Oh, we're on the washer. I should grind that washer down. 1 second.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let off a bit. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take this out. There we go.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, no crease in the top, and this is just open just a little bit to help us over the pinch weld. Okay, let's do
Do that first.
Okay. Okay. Good. Your end a little bit. That's it.
You need more in here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Check it with your template.
Use our template. Line things up. I'd say that's exactly where it needs to be. Okay, great, thanks. All right, guys, so we got the rocker bent up. My dad's off to his own projects, and armed with our profile, we now need to figure out where to cut the top sections of the rocker out so that we can blend all this together. The way it sits right now, it's not going to fit. We have a diagonal brace in here. We got some stuff at the front. I'll bring you guys in and kind of show you what needs to be done. And then we'll lay it out and cut it out, hopefully get it right, and pop it in. Now, the thing with popping it in is, with this, I think once it's popped in, it's going to be very difficult to get it off to prime it. So we prime all the insides of our panels. Once you get it on, how in the world do you get in with a long wand to spray in there? No, you don't. You do it before you assemble everything so it doesn't rust later on. Once it's on, we'll make some small holes for drainage, create a little offset within that hole so that it's not capturing stuff in it when you're driving. It actually deflects the water when you're driving, sucking out any moisture from the rocker. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a bit. But let's get you in, show you what's going on with this. All right, so you need to imagine that there is one more leg on the end of that there. And that's going to capture that pinch weld on the other side, on the inside. So we need to slide this in underneath the A-post pillar. That'll get welded through there, go on the inside, but there's a radius up inside on the infinity, so we need to cut back because our rocker extends into here and that radius also starts there. So we don't want to mess ourselves up in terms of sliding it forward. Underneath, that's going to roll up and capture that there pinch weld. So that's the easy part. Over here, this has to slide in underneath there, just like so. On the inside, that clamp will be removed, that block will be removed. We don't need it right now. We know it's a 1-inch space. We have that space right here. This rocker extends all the way over to here, actually a little bit past because we have to roll the end. This triangular gusset in here has to be notched into the surface because we can't slide up on it. We need this main surface to continue on through and come out to here. So we need to notch out this top portion. Kind of hard to talk and show at the same time. So yeah, let's stay put if I can get it to stay. So this will get notched out, flow into here with a tab. It won't be just a rough cut. The tab will be spot welded to the structure all the way through, just like they did, see? That's what the factory does. Boom, 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 little tabs come up, flange here. Everything's flanged. There's no raw ends that are butting in and getting welded. So let's start at the front. It's about the easiest at the moment. This is a little more complicated. This is sitting on a bit of an angle. It's not that crucial when we're dealing with such small distances, if you will. At the front, I've set it to the back side of the fender plus a 1/4 inch so that when we roll the end in, we'll have our space between the fender and the rocker panel. The fender rolls down under the car, and that actually helped us out because my brake is 72 inches, this panel is 69 inches. So I was fortunate enough to be able to use our brake to bend it up. If I couldn't, I'd go to a buddy, he got a 10-foot brake. If you know somebody, it helps. If you don't, go to a sheet metal shop and just ask them nicely and see if they can help you out. So that takes care of the front. Now back here, we need to figure out all the steps, all the features that have to be worked into this panel. We've got the pinch weld that climbs up, we've got a step here, we've got this diagonal brace, and if we cut it off too big, we'll have a hole here. We don't want a hole. We want to be able to roll up a flange on here and stick it, weld it to the body. So let's start at the bottom, extend the line out from where it just starts to climb. Now we're sitting a bit of an angle here. I'm gonna see if I can bring out the front. No, I can't. Okay. We'll just use our micrometer the best we can. About there. So we're gonna make a mark right there. Because we need that pinch weld to go, or this flange to go in that way on the inside. There's a step here. Let's make a mark at the top, like that. It's going to be cut there. This has to drop down to go around there. At this point, extend out. Cut. I think that the bar is 1 inch, but let's make sure. Just under 1 inch. Now we're going to extend back here because we're coming into this diagonal. Nope, that's not right. I need a flange to roll up and pick this up. So I'll do something like that and flatten that out. A quarter, 3 inches. Brain is in overdrive right now. I need to deal with this step here. Plus we're going to be trimming back. I need to leave enough material so that we can roll that flange up. I keep talking about that flange. And yeah. That should work. 4 1/4 plus we're going to leave about a 1/2 inch flange, so 4 3/4. Yeah, that'll work. All right. We'll connect the dots. Go over everything one more time, and then we'll make our cuts. And hopefully it all works out. So, flange extends past on the rocker to tie in. We have the cutout for the pinch weld. Drop down, because this is starting to climb already. We can't deal with that. Roll in to our first bend on here. Yes, diagonal, and there. I think if we cut that out, we should be good. Now, what I'm going to do is add our flanges. Do dotted lines. Separate them from actual cut lines. Like that. There. Yep, we're good. All right guys, we got everything bent, trimmed to what we need, punched, and I'm just thinking if we need to do anything else. The front end of the rocker. We're going to bend that. We're going to roll it in. Give it about a 1/4 inch roll so we can get the end cap created later. Back, we're going to leave it raw so that I can make any adjustments I need to when we define the wheel arch. Front, that has to line up with the front edge of the door. So let's do that. I'm going to cut away that much off of that and then bend right there. That's a little bit crooked. No good. Right there. Bend that. That does not bend. That bends. Yeah, because this lines up with the, or does it? No, we bend here. It's a top that we don't bend. So we cut right there. We cut right there, and we cut that off. Gone. We're going to do a little 45 here. Now I'm not cutting right to the back end of the line. I'm leaving a bit of space because I want to roll that over so that we have a sheet metal edge and not a hole there. You cut back too far, you'll end up with a little hole, you have to weld it up. We can weld it up, but I like to do things in such a way that we have that bend continuing all the way through and inside. That, and we're going to cut there. Just got to hold this thing. It's going to take quite a bit to bend it. Now, when I start rolling, I got to figure out where the edge of the dolly is in relation to that line. So here I start a little bit further ahead of that line, and I'm creeping in on the line. With the lighter gauge material, it's a lot easier to bend. With 18 gauge, it's kind of challenging without a long leg, and we don't have a long leg here. Oh, that's what I didn't want to happen. If I start bending too far back, it's going to mess up and I'll lose the crisp line that I want on the very end, like I did there. So here it's quite nice, but I'll have to flatten that out. Darn. Key is to be comfortable. Okay. Well, that's going to be it. We have a nice sharp point there. Just got that rolled over, and let's see how this is going to fit. Not too well. The front, I need to lift the thickness of sheet metal of 18 gauge. The back, I've got this step to deal with. We need to get this over the pinch weld to cap that so we can spot weld it from the back side. So I can't get it in from the end. The only way I can do this is by lifting the back end of the shell up. I've got one screw at the top, so by rights we should be able to pivot this whole shell upward without losing our alignment at the front. Before I do that though, I'm going to get the passenger side rocker formed up just like this, prime the insides, because like I mentioned, you'll never get at them from the end once they're in place. You might get about a foot at the most. You can drill holes in the outside. Not good, not really. So we'll get it primed. We'll bring you guys in when we're about to install it. should give us enough room to slide that rocker in underneath this pillar and underneath this web at the front here, that structural web. That's one of the first structural webs we created last time, stuck it in the front, and that's what's allowing us to move this without losing all of our alignment. We will have to center the back, make sure that it's equal on both sides, just as we did here with the 1-inch blocks. That was centered, but not that. Once we pin this, then we can center the top. So as you can see, we've got the inside primered, still a bit fresh, but we're going to keep moving forward. This is the tricky part. Bingo. Just popped in at the front. I may need a putty knife. Yeah, this step here, I had a feeling that it might not, no, I'm just trying to see how it's going to work out. We're up against that structural gusset that's here in the front. We need to move ahead good ½ inch. Like that. That felt like ½ inch. Let's check. There is a little bit of a twist right now because we're still not sitting with the way it has to be sitting. The front right there is down. The top is good. I'm not sure why I created that flange there. That was supposed to be flat. Oh well. Oh yes. And here at the front, you can see back of the fender. So we need to move back to right there. That gives us our 3/16 gap between the beige tape and the green tape. The beige tape is 3/16. Let's stick that there. Now I remember, we got to pull this out once more, flatten that out, and that's what we weld through, those holes. That wasn't supposed to be rolled up. So that's not a problem. And since we have to pull it out, I'm going to make an adjustment off the car right there. This has to move in that little bit. It's close, but not quite. So we're going to take and cut back here, we'll cut this way, and unroll that a little higher. Probably trim some of that material off. And you can see what I mean about running wild. This is not going to be left this way. I need to know, once we start developing the quarter and the wheel arch, to center the wheel properly, that'll have to be trimmed. There's no real point in leaving any or putting any other marks because we have the front tape to work to. So let's yank this off, make this adjustment, flatten that out, do the same on the passenger side, it's sitting over there, and then try all this again. It's not bad. First test fit, and it's pretty darn close. My marker. So we need to move in. Tape measure. We need to move in 7/8 of an inch. This is holding us out. So 7/8 puts us right there. This is exciting. Double check that. Yeah, it's just under 7/8. So what is that? 13/16. So like that, and that's looking good there. That's going to roll up that way. That's going to interfere there. So we'll probably cut those holes off and do them again. Roll that up. See, I just don't want to be left with a hole there. So I'm looking down from the top, sighting it through. Oh shoot, I got Sharpie on the tire. Yeah, there's 7/8 of an inch space there. Okay, We'll try the driver's side. If it all works out, then we'll do the passenger side. Yeah, let's do that. See, once it snaps over that pinch weld on the inside, you'll have a devil of a time getting it out. So I don't want to get that far. There we go, she's off. Okay. So I made a little revision at the back, flattened out the front. In at the front. Ooh. Pull that out. In at the back. That's it. Oh. One more thing I didn't see. There's a bit of a diagonal on that brace at the front. Have to trim it back on this structural piece a little bit. We're in too far at the front. The back, that's bang on right there. See? Once we've worked that in, actually I can move that a little bit more. Nope, nope. Don't do that. There we go. I'm not closing the door just yet. It's not sitting where it has to be sitting. Let's fix the front. Will it come off? Uh-oh. No doubt. We are where we need to be, right there. Holy moly. Nice, nice. My acrometer's off. I need to readjust that front diagonal. One more time. No, your eyes aren't playing tricks on you. We've got one huge gap back here between the bottom of the door and the top of the rocker. Why is that? Well, we got the body cranked up in the air. So I'm gonna jump into the trunk or somewhere thereabouts, lower that down and see how close this comes into alignment. Yeah. Bingo. Okay, chains are slack, loose. Now the bottom of this door, this gap is pretty big. I'd say 1/4 inch heavy, maybe 5/16. Not a problem. This bottom has to be redone. It looks like Swiss cheese. But overall, let's close the door. We got a little bit of a pinch going on there. Good thing I got my tetanus shot. But we are, oh, never mind. Check that out. I just jumped up into place. The front edge of the door is aligning. I'll bring you guys in. The front edge of the door is aligned, which is looking good. See that? That gap really isn't too bad. It just, you saw me bump it, it jumped into place. So that's good. We do have to redo the bottom of that door. That's a given. You can't see from here. Or here, but it looks kind of like that. So we can make any final adjustments to the bottom when we do that, but you know what, we can work with that. That's okay. This gap here is pretty nice until we get down to the bottom, and that's only because we have no sheet metal to hold that. Everything else is looking good. All of our flanges are nice and tight. That has to be rolled in, but that will be tight. That comes down, we weld to the back side. We push all the sheet metal back in over top, weld it to the structure, roll that down, and just tuck this into bed. That floor jack, I think we're gonna, yeah, we can take it down. It's done its job. We're gonna put a couple of spot welds through the holes, or plug welds through those holes, just tiny ones, in case we need to peel this off. There, now I can roll that in and it won't keep jumping around on me. I'd like to see the inside. She looks good. Yeah, she looks good. You hear how solid that is? It's almost like it doesn't need any tacks or welds or anything. All right, let's pop this door open, and if I can see it, ooh, and see how it looks. There we go. Whew. Very nice. Okay, first thing we gotta do is get that rocker moved out a little bit. There's a bit of a space in here, and it wasn't quite aligning with the outside skin of the door. See that? Jumped out. How can we do that? Clamp there? Yeah, let's try that. Okay, now the only way to test that is to close the door, and I can't do that until we have that pin. So I'll put a small tack there. And I'm just trying to get a feel for here. I need to do a little bit of trimming under here. Like that. Me likey. Very good. And clamp that. That gets rolled down. Okay, before I go ahead and do that and then mess myself up, we're gonna unclamp that, lift the body back up, get the passenger side rocker in, same as this. Everything's looking good, I hope. And then we can start welding this truck, this body shell, to the rockers. So once this shell is nailed to the rockers, we'll go ahead and form up some structural pieces in here, get that done, as well as the front A-pillars. And pretty much at that point, this shell is structurally part of the donor. There's a couple filler pieces that have to go in here, and that can be done after. We'll get those in, get the posts in, and then we'll close the door and have a look at it and see how it looks with the new rockers. Yeah, I'm getting pumped. So I'll bring you guys in 2 shakes of a stick. 95.328 seconds later, we've got the passenger side rocker installed. Well, it's on tacks. And it is now time to take this charger shell and drop it for the last time. Close this space in. Check out these gloves. A little nicer than last time. I'm going to jump up into that trunk, ratchet that thing down, and see where it lands. You never can tell until it's down. Oh, wrong way. Something doesn't feel right. Ah, much better. Don't you love it when your joints pop back into place? I do. Oh, except the other side. Be right back. See, this is coming in good. It's the other side. It's holding us up, literally. Okay, guys, hold your breath. Here we go. 1, 2, and... Interesting. Why aren't you not going down? Because the chain is tight, Nick. Okay. Well, that was a killjoy. I was expecting some loud bangs. Instead, it just slid into place. And our gaps, they're killer. At least with these doors, you won't lose your fingers. All right, sorry for not taking you along. That front web was holding us up. When we picked the body up, it actually jumped in on the wrong side of the Infinity's pinch weld. So by kind of massaging things around, it landed in the right place, the body settled. Now we're where we need to be. I no longer need my little block. I can just go ahead and clamp the body right to the rocker. And instead of maybe vice grips, I'll get a big C-clamp on there and just tighten that down so we can roll that flange just on the inside in nice and tight to the other side of the pinch weld. Our gap back here is tight. That's better. The gap is good at the top. We got to pull that back. That's because this has been all cut apart, so that'll be set later. It opens a little better. We're sitting down tight on top of the rocker, so I'm going to again suck that in with a C-clamp, pinch it in nice and tight. This here, same thing, pinch that. That has to roll down. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's sprung a little bit. It's up. It's good where it's back there. It's just up in the middle. So this is where we have to kind of take the time, clamp it, suck everything where it needs to be, do all the welding on the inside. You can see there, all those holes have to be plug welded. Come on. There we go, focus. And that's going to finalize that. Move all these harnesses so we don't burn anything. You see obvious things. And that. And then we can go ahead, I think, and center the tail. The space up there between the wheel arch of the Infinity and the Charger, as well as here. That one, yeah, looks like it's off to one side a little bit, to the north. So we'll get that taken care of. So that's about it for the moment. There's going to be a whole lot of welding. There's not much more substantial stuff or obvious stuff that can be seen until it's seen. So we'll get to work, clamp everything, weld it, and then we'll move on to the structure back there. Give me a few minutes. About there. Working on the structure to tie this rear deck into the wheel tub, similar to what the Charger had originally. Only a bit beefier. All right, let's pinch that there. Let's punch a couple holes. Clamp this in place. You still need to prime the inside, but I just want to get this kind of fixed in place. Just to get rid of this. Okay, so there we have it. Got the rocker installed, got the structural support installed, and then I reconfigured. You can't see through the sheet metal here because, well, it's not transparent, but up inside the structure for the rear deck, I was able to wrap it around and mount it to the Infinity's structure. So that's all good. There's a bunch of holes here, we'll get them filled, but what I want to show you is those rockers, or are those rockers, because we've got both sides done. If there's only one side, I think it'd be is, but if it's two, it'd be are. So that's what I was wrestling with. You can see a bit of a space there, has to tuck in a little bit more. I think we got it though. That's the Charger structure. That's got to be tucked into there and welded. There's a structure up inside there. You see I wrapped it around, pinned it for now. That'll all be welded. And then here we go. Check out the door gaps. Check out the feature. Bang, right on. Nice, smooth line all the way down. Smooth in the sense that we're transitioning without a step. There's a little bit of something that has to be done here because that, well, we won't have anything mounting or holding that. So see, when I pull it back, the gap will be good. Inside, it's all been welded. Pinch weld underneath, welded and ground, or grinded. It's lining up with the front of the door. All right, let's take a step back and check that out. That's flowing in really well. The gap at the bottom of the front of the door, it's a little bit large, only because that front of the door has been kicked in. I've been looking at it, it's like somebody dropped it on that point and it got bumped in. So not a problem. We're going to be redoing the bottoms. The gap is a bit large for my liking. I want them kind of like up there, so we'll get that taken care of. Got the A-pillar structurally integrated into the Infinity. Just need to finish up the welds. Plug welds are all done, and we need to do the cap up on top right there. Get that finished up. Before I do that though, I need to repair the rust that's in the corner. Before any of that had to take place, I wanted to get these doors mounted, because if you cut too much apart, well, it's a losing battle. But check that out, like the gap's a little large there, almost where I want it right there. This has to come out at the bottom, but bang on. Like I can open the door, it'll drop, but when it closes, it ends up right back where it is. Let's do that. Okay, let's get off the crate there. So you see, there's a little bit of movement on that web because we don't have anything reinforcing it at the bottom. We needed to get most of everything else pinned in place. That's all been welded at the front there. Close the door. There, click shut. Check out that gap. Bang on. Feature line lines up. Let's go look at the other side. Same deal. Got a bunch of rust up there to fix. Get that taken care of, but that doesn't matter because we got the rockers in place. Check out. Pretty much the same gap, a little tighter at the back, smidgen tighter. We're just about a 1/4 inch. At the front, 5/16, a little heavy 5/16. Need to weld this structural web in and need to finish building that extension. But it's getting really late. Gap at the top, a little bit tight because I haven't fixed this in place. It's only on one screw there. So once that gets taken care of, that'll sit where it needs to. See, the door is a little bit low and it's bumping. It's close, but it'll open up. And the inside of this one hasn't been welded yet. So once I position everything, I'll weld that and it's done. I'm not opening this door. Gap down here is not bad. See, but it gets a bit tight, too tight. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode on the 74 Charger Infinity mashup. She's getting really close. I'm just running on pure adrenaline right now. If you think I'm talking a bit fast, it's all the coffee. But that's pretty much it for a work day. We're gonna carry on next time, probably with, let's see, I don't know. Depends on what I'll be in the mood for. Front fenders or rear quarters. I think rear quarters. We need to establish the length, get all that figured out. Front fenders, pretty straightforward. I will be building them from scratch. We have to create a wireframe buck of sorts, a very simple one, because, well, we do have the front fenders, so we're going to be taking most of the templates off of that, but we need to kind of attach it to something. We also need to get the hood positioned and the front bumper. There's so much left. Inside, where you see those vice grips, that has to be filled in as well. We need to create a transition piece similar to the one down below and tie it up into the side. So it's getting good. It's sounding solid. I'm gonna stand back, lean against this bench, and just kind of admire our work. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Like I said, if you enjoyed this episode, give us a thumbs up. This car is taking shape rather nicely, even though we are still in the very early stages. Those wheels got to go. They're not right. But overall, the shape is looking good. Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It'll give you notification next time we have a new video out.